The strawberry is considered one of the most important small fruits grown in the Western Hemisphere. Originally, it was grown in Northern Europe. The American species was cultivated as early as 1835. Today, this delicious fruit is produced in every province of Canada, and though it can be grown in any garden soil, it does best on a light, well-drained loam which contains a good supply of organic matter or fiber. The plant thrives in a cool, moist climate. The lower Fraser Valley of British Columbia from Richmond to Chilliwack is climatically ideally suited to the production of this fruit. Approximately 2,000 acres of strawberries are harvested in this area each year, with the bulk of production centered around Langley. But strawberries don't just happen. A great deal of work goes into growing and harvesting this fruit. In many areas, the first step is to clear the land. Bulldozers with land clearing attachments are used to strip the overgrowth and remove stumps. Tractors with root rakes loosen and pull the roots from the ground. The slash is piled up and burned. Following final clearing, breaking, and leveling, the land is fertilized. Strawberries require a great deal of organic matter, and a generous quantity of manure, preferably well-rotted barnyard manure, is spread and worked into the top foot or so of soil. Some growers seed fall rye in late September and disc it into the land in early spring. Following the application of the fertilizer, the fields are sprayed with a chemical to control fruit pests such as the weevil. Some chemicals are slow to break down and remain in the soil for years. Their use is rigidly controlled by government legislation. The field is disked immediately to work the chemical into the soil and prevent its loss due to evaporation. All land preparation should be completed at least 10 days prior to the intended planting. New runner plants used in the Fraser Valley are usually purchased from a major supplier in Washington State. The plants are packed 25 to a bundle, 40 bundles to a case. They are dug while still dormant and should be maintained at a 30-degree temperature until the day before planting. The roots are trimmed to 4 inches in length to prevent doubling over in planting, which is done with the aid of a mechanical planter. There is no perfect strawberry variety, but there are several good varieties available. Each has weaknesses and strong points, and the choice is suitability to the particular site and the requirements of the buyer of the crop. There is a continuing program of experimentation at the government experimental farms at Agassiz and Abbotsford to develop new and better strains and varieties of plants and berries. Basically, there are two planting systems. The most common one is known as the matted row. Plants are spaced at 18-inch intervals in rows 48 inches apart. 6 field hands, in addition to the tractor driver, are required for this planting operation. The field hands work 2 to each set of planting clips. The plants are placed in the clips alternately by each member of the team. The clips place the plants in the ground. Care is taken to make the rows straight and parallel to each other to facilitate all future machine work in the fields. Following transplanting, the fields are cultivated to maintain them as weed-free as possible. A variety of machines is used for this purpose. Once the plants develop runners, fields must be cultivated in the same direction so that the runners may be trained along the row. While the plants are small, weed growth in the rows is controlled by hand hoeing. As plant growth progresses, it may be necessary to apply more fertilizer. The type and quantity to use will depend on the soil, which should be analyzed to determine the acidity and fertility levels. Weeds growing in fields of mature plants are pulled by hand. A close check is maintained on the available moisture in the soil, and if necessary, irrigation or sprinkling must be employed to supply the plants with essential water. Commercially grown plants are often prevented from fruiting the first summer by picking off the flowers, so that all their strength is directed in developing size and vigor for the second-year crop. The normal custom is to keep strawberry plants for 3 years. The second year generally produces the heaviest crop, though the finest individual berries are often produced on the first-year plants. As the fruit reaches maturity, chemical sprays are applied to control such plant disease as fruit rot. Prior to commencement of the actual harvesting operation, major growers who provide transportation for their harvest hands check out the mechanical operation of their vehicles and license and insure them. Batching facilities provided on many farms are ready for the harvest hands. Excellent rapport through field and office visits and by telephone contact is maintained amongst growers, the provincial horticultural representative, and officials of Canada Manpower Centres to determine such matters as crop prospects, harvester requirements, and harvesting commencement dates. Signs indicating the location of berry fields and berry picker requirements are posted by growers and grower organizations. Canada Manpower representatives post notices and arrange with shopping center operators for use of their parking lots as pickup depots. Lists of prospective harvesters are compiled at Canada Manpower Centres and held in readiness for the commencement of harvesting. Through the excellent cooperation of the various school districts, students are notified when harvesting gets underway. In an average crop year, the fruit reaches maturity about mid-June. An expert samples the berries and pronounces the crop ready for harvesting. Pickers are advised of the harvest commencement date by newspaper and radio advertising, by telephone contact, and announcements in schools. On the appointed day, harvest hands gather at the pickup depots. Growers dispatch buses to these points, and the mass movement of harvest hands begins. All during the harvest season, dozens of buses transport literally thousands of people to and from the berry fields. All the work, planning, and preparation culminate in this next vital step, to harvest the berries at their peak of quality and deliver them to the market without delay. Time is of the essence, as the fruit deteriorates quickly in the hot sun, resulting in lower grades and prices. When the pickers reach the fields, they become the responsibility of field supervisors and checkers. Each harvest hand receives a flat into which he picks and is assigned to a row. Basic instruction in the proper use of equipment and picking methods is given to first-time pickers. Most growers provide small, one-wheeled carts to hold the flat. The standard flat is a wooden box measuring about 17 by 25 inches by 3 inches in depth. It contains 12 small boxes called hullocks. When properly filled, the flat holds approximately 14 pounds of berries. The flat fits on the cart, which serves to keep it off the ground and enables the picker to easily move it along as he works his way down the row. The bulk of the strawberry crop is sold to canneries where it is processed into fruit and jam. For this reason, the berries must be picked clean. That is, the stem and hull must be removed by the picker. The proper picking method to achieve this is to grasp the berry firmly but gently with the thumb and fingertips of one hand and the stem and hull with the thumb and fingertips of the other. With a gentle twisting, pulling motion, the berry falls free. Berries picked for the fresh fruit market are picked with the hulls on. This method of picking prolongs the shelf life of the fruit in addition to giving it eye appeal. Berries should be picked in this manner only on instructions from the field supervisor. The picker works his way down the rows and is responsible for picking all the ripe fruit on his half of the rows on each side of him. The flat must be filled, but not overfilled, as overfilling would result in crushed fruit when the flats are stacked. When the flat is full, the picker removes it from his cart and carries it to a checkpoint. The cart is left in the field to mark the place at which the picker resumes picking on his return. Each picker receives a card on which he records his name and address. Each time the picker turns in berries, the card is punched by the checker to record the quantity he has picked. It is important that the picker safeguard this card, as it contains the only record of the berries he has harvested. The card must be surrendered to the grower before the picker receives his pay. Loss of this record by pickers results in one of the major problems in the harvesting phase of this industry. Growers haul the flats of berries from the fields to receiving sheds, where they are unloaded, weighed, and graded. From here, the fruit is loaded onto flat-deck trucks and delivered to the canneries for processing. The strawberry harvesting operation usually begins about mid-June and is completed toward the end of July. Many harvesters also engage in picking raspberries and blueberries, and this extends their period of employment and earnings. Many adults are employed in this industry each year, but most of the harvest hands are school children. In fact, the successful harvesting of the berry crop is in large measure dependent on their participation, and it's a job ideally suited to them. The harvest takes place at a time when many students have completed their school term, and work in the fresh air and sunshine in a berry field is a welcome and pleasant change from the pressures of school work and examinations. For many, it's their first experience in a work situation. There is a tendency on the part of some adults to view this type of employment with disdain and to discourage their children from participating. But what better place for these youngsters to begin developing a sense of responsibility and gain experience in the world of work? The grower is prepared to employ these young people who would normally be unable to find any gainful employment during the school holidays. His only requirement is that the pickers be mature and sensible enough to know their purpose in the field. Wages are based on production, and harvest hands set their own pace. The more berries they harvest, the more money they earn. Earnings range from nothing to as high as $20 a day, depending on the harvester's application to his task, the condition of the field, and the quality of the crop. A good picker in a good field should average 200 pounds of fruit in a 10-hour day. The basic rate of pay is 5 cents a pound, but many growers have instituted a graduated system of bonuses based on the quantity of fruit the individual picks. The rate is usually increased for those harvest hands who remain with the same grower for the full harvest season. Fresh drinking water is available in the fields for the harvest hands. Primitive, though adequate toilet facilities are provided nearby. As in every industry, complaints are lodged, generally regarding such matters as records of berries picked, rates of pay, and paydays. Possibly this results from a lack of communication and understanding between grower and harvester. Yet the number of complaints, viewed in the light of the number of people involved, is very small. During an average harvest season, the number of berry pickers dispatched from the New Westminster Canada Manpower Centre area pickup depots alone amounts to over 37,000 man-days. Growers are aware of the lack of work experience of many of the younger children and are generally tolerant of their youthful antics, realizing these youngsters will make up their workforce in years to come. But unfortunately, some young people attend in the fields only for kicks, and their behavior disturbs and disrupts the activities of the legitimate harvest hands. No industry will tolerate this kind of behavior, and the fruit farm is no exception. Those guilty of this type of disrupting activity are ordered off the fields. A common tendency of many people is to scoff at the small fruit industry and consider berry picking a last resort type of employment. What is the volume of this industry and its importance in our economy? The strawberries harvested during the 1968 crop year amounted to 14,751,000 pounds. The raspberry crop amounted to 12,309,000 pounds, for a total of over 27 million pounds. At the base rate of 5 cents a pound, the picker's bill amounted to $1,353,000. In addition to this, 5,600,000 pounds of blueberries were harvested at a picker's rate of 7 cents a pound, for a further $392,000, making a grand total of $1,745,000 paid in picker's wages. What other industry offers employment to young, inexperienced students and provides them with an opportunity to share in this bonanza? The gross average annual income from this berry industry at the producer level in the lower Fraser Valley area is approximately $7 million. And this money is kept in local circulation to pay taxes and to pay for buses, field equipment, trucks, licenses, insurance, gas, oil, repairs, fertilizers, sprays, to pay the wages of bus drivers, field checkers, supervisors, and so on. And of course, more employment is provided in the processing of the fruit. All too often, the importance of this industry in our economy is grossly underrated. In one way or another, we all benefit from it. For those directly engaged in the harvesting of the fruit, the reward is commensurate with the effort. It's all up to you. This presentation was made possible through the kind cooperation of the Lower Fraser Valley Horticultural Improvement Association and the Federal Provincial Farm Labor Committee.